Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Brian Hartman. I am the president of Pharus Funding Partners and Partners in Pharus Global, which is our ecosystem of businesses. We are located here at 1859 Southeast Port St. Lucie Boulevard in Port St. Lucie. Stop by, drop by, have some coffee with us, and we can definitely share some stories and tell you a little bit about what we have going on. We'd like to say that we help businesses, typically second stage companies, everything from the cradle all the way to the grave, or more affectionately known as the exit strategy, or the exit, when people are getting ready to sell their business. So you can look us up at pharusglobal.com, and there you'll find all of our entities. Each logo you can click on and it'll take you to the corresponding website so you can see everything that we do. My particular focus is on commercial lending and commercial credit services. And so tonight you get to spend time with me. I'm going to be talking tonight. This is episode number 18 of Pharus Global Live at 5. And we're going to be talking tonight about, after the second draw of PPP, what do you do next? Everybody's talking about, obviously, the PPP loans. And for starters, I would recommend that you go back to the original lender who did your first PPP loan. And happy to direct you if you have any questions. You got my number at the bottom of the screen. You can email me as well. But as I mentioned, tonight I want to talk about what do we do after the PPP loan, or second draw, we should say. That probably will last about 2.5 months. And the way I know that is it's about 2.5 months of your monthly payroll is the loan amount that you should be able to qualify for. So what happens to the other 9.5 months of the year? And hopefully things will continue to pick up and get back to somewhat of a norm, whatever that might be considered. But for now, I have several different services that we can talk about that will help fund your business and get you through the working capital needs that you might have throughout the year. I'm going to share my screen. First, let me get to the correct screen. And for those of you who might have any questions or comments, or just want to drop in and say hi, you can do so in the comments section, whether you're watching on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube. I'll be happy to answer whatever questions you might have, and certainly we'll say hello to anybody that wants to say hi. So let's jump right in. So the first product I wanted to talk to you tonight about is what we call the UBF, the Unsecured Business Finance. So business owners need working capital for their business. It could come in many different ways, shapes, or forms. A lot of lenders today are becoming a little bit more strict or restrictive on doing lines of credit for working capital, just because of the inherited risk that's involved with establishing lines of credit and allowing funds to be available for businesses. So in light of that, and in light of the whole pandemic and all the craziness that we have going on these days, unsecured business finance is an alternative way to be able to get working capital for your business. And typically there are 3 qualifiers for the unsecured business finance. Number 1, your credit score would have to be 680 or better, typically. We will look at your utilization of your credit cards. So what are the balances as compared to the limits on your personal credit cards? And typically we like to see 30% or less utilization. And third, we are looking at inquiries. How many inquiries have you had in the last 6 months? And typically we like to see 3 to 5 or less of those. So how does the unsecured business finance work? Well, it's in the business name, and it can be used for startup entities or entities that have been around for a long period of time. But typically, it's in the entity name. You will need to personally guarantee. However, none of the debt will actually appear on your personal credit report. So it doesn't affect your debt to income ratios. It doesn't affect your ability to do anything with your personal credit. The only time that it will affect you personally is if you default on any of the loans that are in place. And then the lenders can come after you personally to try to get the money back that you owe them. So the nice part is, since it doesn't actually affect your personal credit report and your personal debt to income ratios, it actually allows you to double your borrowing power. So you have business credit over here and personal credit over here, and now you actually have two segments, two ways to be able to have credit which doubles your borrowing power. So with that said, let's dive into a little bit about the unsecured business finance program. So better results. You get more credit actually with this program, up to 5 times more, in fact. And this means you can get somewhere between $50,000 to $200,000 in available credit, as opposed to only $10,000 to $40,000 if you applied on your own. We actually have the lenders that we already work with and know what direction, where to send your application to be able to get the maximum amount approved for you. Typically, again, in this market, we're looking at usually up to $100,000. We know which are the best cards to be able to submit your applications for. So the way that it works is, it's kind of like what I like to say, a credit line hybrid program. It comes in the form of multiple credit cards that are in the name of the business, and you'll have the ability to pull the funds from those cards to be able to utilize for working capital for your business. It ensures minimal impact to your personal credit profile, including fewer inquiries and declines. And the reason why it's fewer inquiries is because we're doing it all at one particular point in time, instead of doing, each application separate to every single lender. So our team knows how to avoid common issues which cause these declines and longer than necessary funding process. So we speed up the process for you as well. Low documentation. There's basically nothing that needs to actually be submitted. You don't need financial statements. You don't need tax returns. Really, all you need is a simple application, which I'm going to show you in a little bit, to be able to get the process started. And most of the underwriters that are looking at these deals are senior underwriters, formerly from major banks or currently with major banks. They know what the banks like and don't like to see on the credit application. So you don't really need to worry about having inconsistent information when the application actually gets submitted. And we hear this often, I need cash, not cards. We actually will work with you to show you how to be able to utilize the cash that's on the cards that you get approved for, as opposed to you actually needing to use your own cash. And we kind of show you how to be able to maneuver your cash flow to make it work for you overall in your company. We call it smart balance transferring. So strengthen your credit profile while at the same time saving money you would typically pay in interest. And it's a long-term roadmap to be able to, it's revolving most of these are revolving cards. So once you pay it back, you'll actually be able to utilize them again in the future. So typically what you want to do is you want to apply for the funding before you need it. Most of the time, as a former commercial loan officer in the banking industry, I would say at least 7 out of 10 times I would have borrowers come to me and they need the money like yesterday. Well, you want to be able to plan for this. So apply for funding before you need it. Typically, it's best when you actually don't need it to apply for it. And the reason for that is you're in a good position at that point in time. Most people think, well, I don't need it right now. But then they end up coming to borrow the money when business might be on a decline. So do it before things tend to teeter in the wrong direction, and maintain a healthy debt to credit ratio. So you want to keep your utilization of your credit cards as low as possible. And then make sure all your data with the credit bureaus is correct. You could go to annualcreditreport.com and be able to pull a free annual credit report. So you can see at least what's on there. That doesn't give you the scores, but you'll be able to see what is actually on your credit reports to make sure it's consistent. Don't make any big purchases before applying. So yeah, that includes a car or something like that. And don't shop around for funding, because that really puts a number of inquiries on your credit, which can in fact get you declined when you go to apply for this type of financing. So that was just a little bit about we call it the Unsecured Business Funding Program. So again, summarize, 680 or better credit score, minimal number of inquiries in the last 6 months, and you want to keep your utilization to 30% or less. This helps you double your borrowing power because it actually gets approved in the business name, does not report to your personal credit bureau. So this way your personal credit will not be affected by this. And you actually can utilize it to be able to transfer some of the money that you used for your business in your personal debt into the business. So it frees up your personal credit as well. So this is going to be a great source of additional working capital. I would recommend that if you know that you're going to have a need for it in the coming year, let's apply now while everything is still in fairly good condition. So you can go to this website, which I will show you. Everybody hopefully is familiar with Bitly by now. It's bit.ly/CL hybrid. That's for a credit line hybrid. I'm going to show you what the website looks like. This is where you'll come. You can click here to get started. And it's a simple one-page application to be able to get the process started. So you would just come here, put in your information, and then submit for review, and the process will begin. Typically, usually you can get funded in about 3 weeks. And like I said, it can go as much as $250,000, but I would say maximum in this environment about $100,000. If there are multiple owners in the business, each one of them can apply separately. So you might be able to get $200,000, for example. So that's our Unsecured Business Funding Program. So let me take you back. If by chance your credit score is not above 680, the question becomes, well, what do I do now, right? So what we can look at that point is fixing your credit. And through Pharus Credit Solutions, we actually do personal credit repair, which will allow you to hopefully then be able to get approved for the unsecured business funding at some point in the future. So 7 steps to boost your credit score. Just so you guys might be aware, might not be aware. Number 1 is Correct all inaccuracies on your credit report. Again, if you go to freeannualcreditreport.com, you can pull your credit report. Just make sure all of the information that's on there is in fact correct. And I just got a question from Craig Falkowski. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Craig asks, let's put it up on the screen. What are the typical interest rates of these cards? Good question. So again, depending on your credit score and utilization that you have on your current personal credit cards, it could be anywhere from 5 to 14%, which is still way better than some of the merchant cash advances and some other programs that you'll find out there. Better your credit score, less utilization, lower the interest rates typically on the cards you get approved for. Good question, Craig. Okay, so correct all inaccuracies on your credit report. So typically, you want to make sure that addresses are correct. You want to make sure that balances and limits are correct. Yeah, Craig says that those are good interest rates. Absolutely, I agree with you. Inaccuracies on your credit report can actually affect your credit score, and a lot of people are not aware of that. So that's one thing that you want to make sure you check for. If you correct those inaccuracies, obviously it could increase your credit score relatively easily. Number two, make sure that your proper credit lines are posted on your credit reports. Like I mentioned earlier, I can't tell you how many times we look at credit reports and you might have, for example, a credit card with a major lending institution. And what you thought were, your limit was, say, $5,000. On your credit report, you might find that it says $2,500. So what does that do? That doubles your utilization. So for example, if you had a $5,000 limit, or you thought you did, and you kept your balance at $2,500, that's a 50% utilization. But what if your limit was really only $2,500 and you were not aware of that? Then now you're at 100% utilization. So you always want to make sure that everything is reporting properly as far as the limits are concerned on your credit. Number three, if you have any negative marks on your credit report, negotiate with the creditor or lender to remove them. So a lot of times you might have had 1 or 2 late payments, for example, on your credit. Whatever the case might have been. You might have lost a job, or something might have happened that you forgot to make a payment. So you have a perfect track record with a creditor, except for that one late payment. But you might be in luck when you call them up and ask them, kind of give them your story, tell them why you were late with the 1 payment or 2, and ask them if they would be willing to remove that, just out of good courtesy. Especially if you're still with them and it's an open account, and you're going to continue to stay with them, your chances are probably pretty good that they might be able to do you a favor and remove that 1 late payment from your report. Obviously, if that doesn't work and it's really affecting your credit score, then we can certainly help you dispute those late payments somewhere down the road. Number 4, pay all credit cards and any revolving credit down to below 30% of the available credit line. That's what we mentioned earlier. You always want to try to keep your utilization, which is your balance compared to your limit, at 30% or less. Once you go even 30.5% on the utilization, it could drop your score as much as 20 to 40 points on your credit, sometimes more than that. So make sure that you're keeping it below 30%. Make sure that you're paying it down below 30% before it actually reports to the credit bureau. So again, this is something you might want to check into. The reporting date to the bureaus is usually not the actual date that the payment is due, right? Because how can they report if you're paying the same day? So what you might want to do is call up and ask when that reporting date is. so you know when to make sure your balances are below 30% of the limit. Number 5, do not close your old credit card accounts. So history, your credit history is extremely important, the length of that credit history. If you have a credit card, let's say for 15 years, and it's at an interest rate of, I'm just throwing a number out, 12%, and you get an offer for a 5% credit card. Well, obviously, you don't want to use that old credit card any longer. Biggest mistake people make is they will call up and close that card. And what happens is you lose all of that credit history. All of that time that you had that card gets erased from your credit report, and your length of credit history goes down, which makes your credit score go down. So best thing you can do is just keep that card at a 0 balance. Leave it open and start using the other card that's only charging you 5%. Or you can call up that credit card company and say, I got a better offer. Can you do better for me on the interest rate? You might find that they might do you a favor and lower the interest rate so you can continue to use it. But do not close that card, because the minute you close that, that history goes away and your credit score is going to drop as a result of that. Number 6, avoid applying for new credit. If you don't need to apply for it, do not apply for it. You know, everybody goes shopping, especially around Christmas time, and what do they offer you? 10% off if you open up a card with us today. Well, what happens? People will, or the other thing that they might say is we'll offer 0% interest for 6 months if you apply for our store card today. And 2 things happen there. Number 1 is you're probably going to use most of, if not all of, the balance you get approved for that day. And that affects your utilization, which is going to lower your credit score. And now you actually got a new inquiry on your report, which is going to lower your credit score. And, you know, it's just not the best thing to do. So really think it through before you take that great offer when you're shopping out there and have them pull your credit so you can get a new credit card, you know, a store card to get that 0% interest. It usually is going to hurt you more than it's going to help you. So if you don't need to apply, don't apply. And have at least 3 revolving credit lines and 1 active installment loan listed on your credit report. This is called credit mix, folks. So the credit reporting agencies, the bureaus, they love to see that you have a mix of different types of credit. So if you don't have a mortgage, which is considered an installment loan, where you're making principal and interest payments every month, get a car loan. If you don't have a car loan, get a personal term loan. Something that is going to require principal and interest payments to be made every month. That's considered an installment loan. Your credit cards are revolving accounts. Two totally different things. Without the installment loan, you're actually going to have a lower credit score. If you get the installment loan, it will actually increase it because now you have a mix of credit. So the more mixed your credit is, different types of credit that you're utilizing, the higher your credit score is going to be. So those are the 7 steps to boost your credit score. Now, obviously, this takes time, it takes effort. We can certainly help you if you are unable to do this on your own. You can reach me at the contact information below, and we can certainly help with personal credit repair if that is something that is necessary. Now, while you're fixing your credit, if you can't get approved for the unsecured business funding because of your credit, we can help get that credit restored, but it's going to take time. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And if you need working capital for your business, we have what's called a Business Credit Builder program. Business Credit Builder program is a way to actually build business credit with 0 personal guarantees. Get credit for your employee identification number that's not linked to your social security number. So this is a way to actually build business credit with no personal guarantees. And I'm just going to summarize, but you start with vendor credit. People might have heard of Quill. You might have heard of Grainger, Uline. Quill is an office supply company. Grainger is an industrial supply. Uline is a shipping supply company. You start with vendor accounts and you actually apply for credit with them, and they'll give you typically net 30 terms. So what does that mean? You can buy product online. They'll ship it to you with an invoice and give you 30 days to pay that invoice. Once you pay that invoice, now that trade line, whether it's Quill or Uline or Grainger, for example, will start reporting to your business credit bureaus. You actually can build a business credit profile that's completely separate from your personal credit profile. And a lot of people are unaware of that. So vendor accounts get established first. Once you set up 3 to 5 of those, then you'll actually get the green light to start to apply for store credit cards. So things like Home Depot and Lowe's and Dell and Best Buy and Sam's Club. Those are all store credit cards, kind of similar to, everybody remembers getting JCPenney and Sears department store cards. Same idea, but for your business. You get store cards, you'll be able to utilize them at those particular stores. And it's a credit line, just like a credit card, like you would normally have for Visa and MasterCard. Once you build up combined 8 to 10 accounts of vendors and store cards, then you graduate to be able to apply for Visa, MasterCard, American Express. And also you'll be able to get gas cards, fuel cards like Sunoco, like ExxonMobil, Shell, and be able to utilize those for fuel. But also now you can apply for the cash cards, which is Visas, the MasterCards, American Express. All of these in the business name, no personal guarantee, no personal credit necessary. So it's unsecured business credit with no personal guarantee. So what does that mean? The risk is completely taken off of you. You're building your business credit. It typically will take about 4 to 6 months, where you'll see about $50,000 to $100,000 of combined business credit with no personal guarantees. And it continues to increase from there to the point where people actually get unsecured business credit where they can buy automobiles with no personal guarantees. And we've seen cases of $500,000 to $1 million in business credit with no personal guarantees. Again, this can be done for startup entities and for existing entities. And you get to build business credit regardless of your personal credit quality. So again, in this particular case, you can actually build business credit and not even have to worry about your personal credit. But also it doubles your borrowing power again if you have good personal credit. Even when you can't qualify for business loans for whatever the reason might be, maybe it's a cash flow issue, maybe it's collateral, this can still work for you. There's no cash flow requirement, there's no collateral requirement to do this. Quickly secure business credit by getting trade credit, which I mentioned earlier, the Ulines, the Graingers, etc. No personal liability, no personal guarantee required for approval. Separate your personal and business credit. You keep them completely separate. In fact, again, you can move what you used your personal credit for the business for into the business name this way. And then this will allow you to get approved later on for actual bank loans, because now you're fundable, your business is set up, it has credit built, it actually strengthens your ability to get approved for business loans in the future. And as I mentioned, it's available for startups as well. So now you have 2 different ways to be able to build capital. The unsecured business funding we talked about earlier, that's something that has a quick 3-week turnaround. The 3 qualifiers, 680 plus credit score, minimal utilization on your cards, minimal number of new inquiries. 3 weeks, you have working capital for your business. If your personal credit's not there, let's work on credit repair. and then at the same time build business credit with no personal guarantees. You can do that without affecting your personal credit at all. It doesn't matter if you have terrible personal credit. That's also actually good for any foreign nationals that are unable to obtain financing. Put it in the name of an entity in the US, and you can start building business credit to be able to use for that business. Moving on. This is one of my favorites. So we have a service called a business directed retirement account. How many people know, obviously I can't see your hands out there, but how many people know people that have retirement funds, IRAs, 401ks they might have rolled over from a business they retired from, or left that position and went to another position. And those retirement funds might not be doing anything beneficial except you waiting for you to be able to retire to take it out without a penalty. Well, as a business owner or an investor interested in investing in a business and obtaining equity partnership, you can actually redirect those 401ks and IRAs into a new retirement program that allows you to then purchase stock shares in an entity of the business that you're creating, or purchase stock shares in an existing entity that's already up and running. And now you can become a business owner with working capital that did not even have to borrow money to be able to start up that company or infuse working capital into the business. I've rarely ever heard this. I was so excited to hear these things because there are people sitting around with money in retirement that are not earning high rates of interest. And what better way to be able to have an investment into a business you believe in, whether it's family, friends, or just something that you actually heard about, and be able to invest your retirement funds into something that potentially, no guarantee, and like attorneys would probably be jumping all over me to not put that disclosure out, you can lose the money. So you might want to make sure that you do your due diligence before making that investment. But this is an avenue for the owner and an investor that wants to invest into that company to utilize the retirement funds as a way to be able to infuse capital into the business or potentially become an equity partner in that business. I found that to be fascinating because there's people always looking for investors or ways to raise capital. What better way to do it than not having to pay back a loan to be able to get that business going? So you create a corporation for your business, you design and adopt a customized 401k plan, which we will work on, and quickly help you roll over your retirement account into the new 401k plan without any tax consequences. Create a private stock offering that allows investment directly into your corporation, and then use the funds for any normal business expense. Fast funding, it happens in about 2 to 3 weeks. You avoid penalties or any taxable distributions. There are none. Customized structure to fit your business, and the money can be used for any normal business expense, including collateral for a loan. So you could actually take your retirement funds, put it into this vehicle, and then use it to collateralize a loan. How cool would that be if you needed it in the future? You can pay all the fees on the back end, so you don't have to worry about anything up front, and then you get 5 years of corporate management at no additional charge. Tax planning advice, annual report reminders, it goes through everything to make sure that you're using it properly. So very exciting stuff. We talked about unsecured business funding. We talked about building business credit with no personal guarantees. That's going to be avenues to get working capital into your business after the second round draw of PPP is over and done with. And then in addition to that, if you have retirement funds sitting out there, or you know somebody that does, that would like to invest in your business, this is an avenue to be able to infuse working capital into your existing business or start up a company with those funds. And then the last piece that I wanted to go over today is what we call Workers' Opportunity Tax Credits. Again, this is a bit.ly link, so it's bit.ly/WOTC, WOTC WOTC Works. I'm going to show you what this website looks like. You can go over to the website, and this is a way to be able to get emergency relief by earning up to $14,000 per employee as a tax credit. And a lot of business owners are not taking advantage of this. I don't know why. If you come to this website, there's a couple of questions that you'll be asked. How many employees do you hire annually? So let's just say 5. What industry are you in? Let's say you're in a restaurant, and were your business operations suspended full or partially at any point in 2020 due to COVID? Chances are probably that's a yes. And how many current employees do you have? Let's just say 20. $1,200 on average for every employee you hire. So we talked about 5 new hires annually. That's a potential tax savings of $6,000 right off the bat. And you get $14,000 up to for every qualified employee that you currently have on staff. Look at that number, folks. $280,000 potential tax savings credit. Do you think that might help you with your business going forward? All you would do is scroll down, click Activate Now. It already has the information that we put in from the prior screen. Did you have a 20% or more income reduction during any quarter of 2020? Do you own any commercial property? If it's a yes, what's the combined value? Let's just say it's $1 million. Did you have operations in any of the following states in 2018 or 2019? Pick your state and select all counties that you had operations in if they apply. If not, click none of these. This is going to check and see if there's any additional tax credits that you're entitled to due to the pandemic. So for this purpose, we're going to say none. We're going to hit next. And based on the Workers' Opportunity Tax Credits, we talked about 5 new hires, savings of up to $6,000. Retention tax credit for COVID for each employee up to $14,000. Potential savings of $280,000. And in addition to that, cost segregation studies can be done on your commercial property with potential savings of $74,000. All you have to do is plug in your information here, click confirm, and the process will begin to be able to bring you to that point where you can indulge in that tax savings credit. So another avenue you can take, again, I'm going to go back to the website. And in fact, what I will do is post the websites into the comments section for those of you that are watching or seeing this on replay. You'll be able to click on those links to get to the websites. Hopefully that will allow you to see it. If not, please make sure that you call us, 772-223-3344, or you've got my email address. That's brian@pharusfunding.com. Happy to go over all of these things with you. These are great tools to use to be able to infuse working capital back into your company and be able to have that additional working capital even after the second draw of PPP goes away. So hopefully this helps. I appreciate everybody sticking with me through this, And I am available, like I said, to help anyone. Feel free to give us a ring. And next week, we are going to be talking about insurance, both consumer and commercial. What are some of the new takes? What's available out there? And potentially be talking about some payroll and PEO services as well. We will have Rudy Chacon from Pharus Insurance Services on. So we look forward to that. And hope everybody has a great night. Check us out at pharusglobal.com, and all of our contact information is there as well. Have a good night, everybody.